Hello everyone, how you doing? And you're very welcome to Inclusion Tag Rugby with myself, Aidan Raftery, and we have the Disability and Inclusion Officer, David McKay from the IRFU. We also have Matt Mitchell from the Wooden Spoon Children's Charity for Rugby, and of course former Ireland and Munster player Peter Bracken, who'll have a very valuable contribution to this, and you'll see why. So I suppose we'll start off with yourself first, Matt, and the Wooden Spoon. Can you give us a bit of a background on yourself and your involvement in rugby, and I suppose your role in the Wooden Spoon Children's Charity rugby organisation? They give grants, don't they, for and do a lot of work which changes lives for the people that have special needs and disabilities, and also their families as well, and it's essential for their development as well as they get older, and development skills development and things like that.
Yeah, that's right. We're a grant giving charity, and we were formed 40 years ago when the Irish beat the English in Dublin, meaning that the England team won the Wooden Spoon, 1983. Were you playing then, Peter?
I would have been a young chap though. Yeah.
Never say we don't give you anything, Matt,
Yeah.
So I guess the charity is a celebration of English failure, but no. So yeah, but we're very happy to on behalf of the rugby community across the whole of the UK and Ireland to be funding projects that help change the lives of children.
That's Yeah, and how do you get funding? And of course, the great work that your volunteers do, and the great work that you do yourself. And what's your role in the organisation as well?
Well, I'm luckily enough to be able to call volunteering for Wooden Spoon or working for Wooden Spoon as my job. It's and I always say I absolutely love it. It makes it very easy to get up in the morning. I've worked hard in my life. I've played a bit of rugby and always been involved in rugby. But to be able to get up in the morning and use rugby to make to help improve the lives of the children we support is very easy to do. And as a result, I put 100% into it, and I think we're making a difference. And what we do on behalf of the rugby community is fund projects that help children and young people who are either disabled or disadvantaged or vulnerable in some way. And we always do it with rugby in the background. We don't just fund rugby projects, and we're going to talk about the rugby project that we funded with David just in a moment, I'm sure. But we fund a whole range of projects. We recently funded accessible beach surf boards and things to help children with a disability access the opportunity to surf off the coast of Ireland, and that was just one project that we funded. We funded £1.6 million worth of projects last year alone, and that all came from that little presentation of a wooden spoon at O'Donoghue's bar back 40 years ago. And since then we've helped thousands and thousands and thousands of children, and most importantly, we've helped their parents as well be proud of what they've been able to achieve.
And so that's but it's also important to say that it's not just in the UK. You also have projects going on in Ireland, and you fund different projects all around Ireland and England. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. We have Wooden Spoon regional committees across the whole of the UK and Ireland. So our Leinster committee is led by Niall Brown, who recently took over from Fergus Slattery, who you will all know. The great Fergus himself led Wooden Spoon Leinster for many years. Niall's taken that over to help out, and we wish Fergus all the best for his coping with what is a terrible illness of dementia. But Niall's doing a great job. We've got we're trying to regenerate the Leinster region. We have a very active Ulster region, led by Peter Wood and Willie John McBride up at Ballymena, and we're a little quiet over in Connaught and Munster, Peter. So perhaps you can give us a a bit of a lift over there. But you know, we're fantastic. It was fantastic over the last weekend to see so many young people from all over Ireland, from all 4 provinces, taking part, and that's really down to David and his network and working in partnership with the IRFU.
That's it, and we'll be talking about the partnership between yourselves and the IRFU as well. But I suppose a key part of your organisation as well, both in England and Ireland, and to be able to deliver these projects, is the great work done by your volunteers both in England and Ireland.
Yeah, all those committees, you know, those regions that we talked about, all have regional committees run by volunteers, like Peter and Niall. Peter Wood and Niall Brown, you know, across the whole of of England and Scotland, we also have regional committees led by volunteers as well. And the importance of the benefit and the reason why it's so great to have those volunteers involved. It means that every penny that we raise stays locally to fund the projects that they want it to fund. And so there's no costs taken away from the money that they raise.
That's it, and it's great to see the continued work. And I suppose from the point of view of the future, what are your goals and targets? I suppose for the future.
Well, we'll talk specifically about how we want to work and how we want to affect the growth of inclusive rugby, VI rugby, disability rugby across Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales. But we want to grow those volunteer committees, help the Leinster, bolster the Leinster committee so that they have regular events that raise money that is only going to be spent in Leinster. And we want to help the Ulster region to do the same. And also, if at all possible, Munster and Connacht could set up these committees, and we can get some activity going there as well.
And I suppose really another thing that has happened in recent years, and it affected many areas of society around the world, as well as Ireland and England and Scotland and Wales, and that's COVID. And I suppose I'll be asking David as well how he found that it impacted on the IRFU. But I suppose from your point of view as a charity, how did it affect you, and what did you do to kind of get through that? Because it was, as I said, it was a very difficult time for all aspects of society, in sport and non-sporting organisations.
Yeah, it was a terrible time for everyone, and you know, all those people that suffered from COVID, you know, need to be thought about here. But you know, for myself personally, and the small staff that we've got at Wooden Spoon head office, we were furloughed and were not working for the whole of that lockdown period. And gradually, as the restrictions were lifted, we were able to come back to work, and we've actually bounced back really well and launched a couple of projects that have been fundraising projects and delivered some projects that have been absolutely superb right off the bounce of COVID. You know, one of the things that we're dealing with at the moment is a cost of living crisis, and Wooden Spoon have been able to help fund some projects that have helped young people who haven't been able to feed themselves to access food from food kitchens, and we've matched grants from all the regions to get out to help food kitchens help where they can. So you know, COVID brilliant. And the cost of living crisis, double whammy, but we're going strong now, and we're picking back up. So we're on a good trajectory.
That's great, and I suppose just a few impressive things here. 43 charitable projects which helped over 100,000 vulnerable children and young people. That's very impressive. And I suppose if people now on seeing this, if they want to make a donation or they want to get involved, how do they get involved in the Wooden Spoon Children's Charity for rugby?
Well, it's very easy. Just have a browse of our website or go onto any of our social media sites. If you did a Google search or any other searches are available, you can look up woodenspoon.org.uk as the website, but we're typically Wooden Spoon Charity or Charity Spoon on our social media pages, and follow us there. Have a look. We're very lucky to have a good, really great support of what we call membership, which is a regular donor scheme to keep the charity income coming along so that we can fund more projects.
And I suppose from the point of view of partnerships and how you got involved in rugby, was that from the start, or like were you a children's charity and then you partnered up with rugby to kind of get the message of inclusion out there, or how did the whole thing come about?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it started with England winning the wooden spoon in the Five Nations in 1983. So we've been connected with rugby right from the start. Very soon after that, we had a number of ambassadors take us on board, and we partnership, and our patrons are the 4 home unions, and we work very closely with the home unions to make sure that we're complementing each other's and helping to enhance the reputation of rugby in the community. And I think that the good work that rugby does, the good name that rugby has is in part due to the good work that rugby does in terms of the charity and, not just the camaraderie and the respect that it promotes, but also the good work it does in the community to support local communities.
And moving on to David now, you're very welcome. Thanks very much for taking the time out to join us as well. It's very good of you. You've all been very busy men over the last couple of days. But I suppose from your own point of view, David, can you tell us a bit about your role as disabled and inclusion officer with the IRFU and your own background as well?
Yeah, so the disability inclusion officer is pretty much is a new role. I got it just before COVID, and it's really about increasing opportunities, whether that be inclusive or diverse rugby, opportunities for people that are marginalised to access the game, whether that be disability tag, whether that be mixed ability or visually impaired rugby. And I suppose that comes in different ways. From a national point of view, I cover all 4 provinces, so I'm the only one that does it for my sins. And I suppose the hard bit for that is we've got a great networks within our clubs, and it's trying to link everyone together so we're all working in the same sort of the pathway. And it's not for every club to have a disability section, but it's for every club to have to know where to signpost, how to support players that have disabilities, and where's the network they can link into. Because I think for me personally, like I started at Ballymena Bears and being a coach when I was 17, 18, and they were at the tournament there on Sunday, and I know from the very first time we went to a wooden spoon about 10 years ago now, that it wasn't just for the players, it was for the parents to have networks with other parents in the area to find out what their sons or daughters were going through and how to get that support network. So I think from an IRFE point of view, we put the resource in place myself, and it's really just to look at, from a strategic point of view, how do we develop this game so that it's not just a club sets up and they disappear within 2 years, that it's the long-term plan of being part of that rugby family. And I think Sunday was probably the sort of the pinnacle of where we're at, but also where we need to get to as well, because there's probably teams that need a lot more support in that area, and it's trying to figure out where we put the resources from a national point of view. So look, it's something that we're not the best at it yet. We've got a long way to go, but we're down that right pathway and the journey of what the inclusive sport looks like, for me anyway. And I suppose the big thing about that is not only the support we give them, but also the training opportunities that we give coaches, whether that be disability awareness training, visually impaired training. When it comes to coach education, we're holding conferences every year for the last 3 years now, whether that be online or in person. And it's sort of to get that CPD for coaches and clubs to look at other avenues that it doesn't just have to be disability tag. There's other forms of inclusive rugby that clubs can offer as well. So I think it's every day is different. That's for sure. Like if I take the weekend past, I was at the Emerald Warriors awards night on the Friday for their 20th anniversary. On the Saturday, I had the visually impaired rugby, the first of your game at UCD. And then afterwards was the Wooden Spoon Vets game. On Sunday, we had 450 kids from 36 teams from across Ireland and the UK at the Wooden Spoon Tag Rugby Festival. So that's a weekend that for me, and I suppose I have them throughout the year. So it's great to see. Sometimes I'm very busy, and sometimes I'm like, I can't get a minute. But I think that's why I love the sport, and that's why I love my job. I'm very lucky at it.
That's it. And I suppose really with the IRFU as well, it was that there are great ways which they've been able to reach out to the community and people with special needs and disabilities as well, and that will be through their clubs. I mean, you know, on the pitch, for the real young players, you have mini rugby, and then the underage structure, and then obviously junior clubs and senior and things like that. That's a great way. And but I suppose there was another avenue that you saw and you identified and have done great strides in association with the Wooden Spoon Children Charity, and that was you know, getting people with special needs involved in rugby. And I suppose, you know, that's the thing, that's the essence of, you know, the best thing to get people involved in rugby would have been, and the safest way is kind of tag rugby to start off with and see how they get interact in that. And obviously on Sunday, everyone, it was a thoroughly enjoyable tournament as well. I was there myself, and delighted to be there, and it was very well organised. So there's that to it as well. And you know, when you see people enjoying themselves, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
I think that's probably the big thing I know, speaking to parents that I've known for years that have been involved in the different teams that I've been involved in. They never thought their son or daughter could play rugby. They just didn't see that as being an avenue for them to participate in the game that they watch on TV. And I suppose rugby is something that is versatile. You could have your tag, your touch, but you might use the rugby ball as just the mechanism, but it's the games, it's that social interaction with other players and with other peers. I think the big thing is probably that belonging to your club, the belonging to your community, and I suppose the rugby family as a whole. No matter whether if you watch Ireland on the weekend or the World Cup and you're all wearing the green, you belong to the Irish rugby family. And I think that's probably a big thing that I sort of see from the parents that I've known, that I've grown up with, that it's going down and knowing that you're wearing the first 15 jersey, you're the same club member as someone else within that community, and you belong there. And that's something that we're probably not the best at promoting, but I know it happens because I sort of have the feedback from the parents and feedback from the clubs that this is something that they wish they'd done 10 years before. And for a lot of clubs now that are just starting this journey, it's sort of seeing the tournaments like we had on Sunday and using I can't wait till the next one. I think that's something in it. I think I remember the first time I went away to, I think it was Whitney, we went away to the Wooden Spoon tournament. It was the first time for some of our older players that they got a boat and they stayed away from their hometown. That's something that when you're working with, you probably take for granted when you're younger and going through rugby, that I've been in lots of tours. It's just something that just stuck with me. I always remember that. So speaking to a few players who've never been on a boat, never been on a coach outside of their hometown. And I think that's a big thing that rugby gives the opportunity to.
That's it. And next up, we're talking to former Ireland and Munster player, and this is something that'll be probably close to your heart as well, Peter. Having heard the two lads talking there. Now, myself and Peter know each other through Niall Quinn. He introduced us about, you know, for an interview for my show, Friday Sport on Rosfm Community Radio, and I think it's fair to say we've been good friends ever since, and your journey around Ireland with electric cars and all that. But tell us about your own situation and why you know, something like this would mean a lot to you due to your family situation, Peter.
Absolutely, Aidan. And firstly, I've played a lot more games with Connacht than I did with Munster. So
very good.
I was lucky enough to play with both provinces, and they both have fantastic seasons this year. But yeah, I'm a rugby a fan and a parent, and a parent with a child with neurodiverse gifts, and you know, sport and activity is just so important for everyone. And as the lads alluded to, it's the whole social side of things, probably more so than even the physical activity of doing it, which both are great. And you know, rugby has been making massive strides in that, and well done to two lads, David and Matt, and all they're doing, because it does make a huge difference. You know, I've been organising a local charity here, Mayo Autism Camp, and we just run sports camps and activity camps for the kids in the summer and Easter holidays and stuff. And you know, I just know from that how yeah, it's as much for the parents as well, and everything that the lads said there, great for the kids and great for networking with parents. So yeah, it's amazing. And last August, I was lucky enough. I just happened to be passing by Cork and popped in to Sundaswell Rugby Club, and the Sundaswell's Rebels were being presented with their World Cup trophy for mixed ability rugby, and I got stuck in and played a bit of rugby with the lads, and it was brilliant, and kind of it got me involved that way, and obviously with Niall, and the big event happening next Saturday on the 10th of June in Buccaneers Rugby Club, the All Ireland Mixed Ability rugby tournament. So it's the inaugural tournament. So that's going to be an amazing day, I'm sure.
That's it, and I suppose really as well, and another point to kind of offer as well is, as well as having fun, the people with special needs and disabilities as well, that are playing in these games as well. They're actually developing skills as well without realizing it. I suppose developing skills by having fun is another way, isn't it, Peter and Matt? Yeah. Peter and David and Matt, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it just the whole team. There's very few games in the world better for team, a better team game than rugby. We all know that, and I know we're biased, but it is the best team game, and all shapes and sizes and abilities and all the rest. And yeah, it's just communication skills and getting on with other people. And one thing that stuck out to me down in Sundaswell that day was the banter. The banter between everyone involved, the players and the coaches, and it's just kind of unique to rugby. And everyone should get a chance to experience that. And the guys with different and special needs and whatever, they love that. And some of the I was especially taken by some of the non-PC quotes and language used by the players in slagging each other off. So it just brought the whole human element to it that, everyone deserves the opportunity to get involved in the crack and having fun and being active and being part of a team sport. And no better game than rugby to get involved in.
Peter, can I ask you a question, Peter?
Yes.
We talk about the amazing opportunities that rugby give to bond players together, whether it's children or adults. It creates connection, it creates community, develops character and confidence, and communication skills. But and for your child, as a parent of a child that has, as you said, a gift. How do you define the support that you got from the state, as it were, and through school? Did you have a positive experience?
Yes and no. It was very, very difficult at the start. It took 4 years for a diagnosis, so virtually no help whatsoever. But once you get labelled, well, then in Ireland and particularly in Mayo, there is a lot of support. There is not that support in other parts of the country. So we're lucky to have a little bit of a hub, but that didn't come by accident. That's from a lot of hard work down through the years from different parents that had no access to any help. So it was a big learning curve for me, but also with their primary school. So it was all new, it was all learning. I spent a lot of time educating teachers and different things about autism and the likes, and really I suppose with teachers, they've such a busy job. There's so many kids, so many different abilities, and they can't be experts in everything and in every disability. But but I found just giving the basics and being able to sit down with them was a huge help, and that came from support from the school itself. You know, other parents I've talked to haven't had it quite that lucky. You know, but I suppose in the early days you have to fight for everything. I'm sure I've heard similar stories over in the UK, like, you know, in Ireland. Like, it's a great country. There's a lot of good stuff here, but really services that are needed and that you're entitled to don't come automatically. You kind of have to fight for them through the you know, the HSE and stuff like that. So once you get into the system, it's not too bad. But you know, that's just the practical side of things, getting through life and school and whatever. There's it's only voluntary organizations then when it comes to kind of recreation and organizing events for the kids to socialize and meet up. So
when you found that you had that opportunity for your child to play rugby, and you met with the other parents of young people who have grown up in a similar system, it's a really empowering, positive experience, and you can share your learnings and experiences and talk openly and about your experiences. And I think that's a really powerful thing. And you talked about that, you know, some teachers don't really understand all the intricacies of every child, and it being possible to do that. Yet we're asking coaches to do the same as well, and coach rugby. And you know, David, I know, is passionate about making sure that coaches are equipped with all those skills to help coaches to ensure that every child can enjoy rugby as well. Right, David?
Yeah, I think probably coming from my career started as being like a support worker and then working in employment services for likes of MENCAP and different national organisations. And I think that's probably the big thing that I've seen is just that education piece, as Peter was sort of alluding to. It's probably the hardest bit, and I suppose from a rugby point of view, we focus on the rugby aspect, but we're so much more. Like, as you say, Matt, we're trying always to improve and trying to give best practice, and knowing that it's not a one size fit all. And you have to find what works for a player and what works for our parents. Like, so we've got communication boards, we've got coach resources, we've got different webinars on different disabilities, and I think like that's great, but it's not going to fit everyone. And a bit like myself, people think, oh, I'm the expert. It's like, I'm an expert at what I know. If I don't know something, I know I need to signpost and find out that information. I think, look, from an IRFU point of view, the resources that if a club or any individual wants to get involved in rugby and find out how to sort of access the game, whether that be playing within the mainstream side of things or the inclusive side of the rugby game, then I'll be there to be sort of signposting, but also be with them from the start and to the very end and be involved in that journey as well. So I think that's probably the big thing from our point of view. And I suppose working with like the Wooden Spoon, I remember my first time I went to the Wooden Spoon tournament, and it's something that I want to make sure that every year our players have the same opportunity to go to that tournament, because I think it's so much more than just a rugby tournament. It's having the ice cream, meeting someone new, and seeing appear in a different team, wearing a different colour kit, but you can see themselves in yourself, and I think that's probably a big thing.
That's it. And what we're going to do is that's the end of part one, where we got to know each other, and I suppose got to know about David's role and Matt's role, and of course the contribution from Peter as well. So in part two, then we'll be discussing the weekend as well. So we'll talk to you in part two.